On this day, in 1915, a tragic event would shake the nerve of wartime Brisbane and appear in print media across the country as a warning to others. The tragedy, which took the community by complete surprise, involved an unremarkable backyard in Bulimba and 3 young children who had discovered a very dangerous toy earlier in the day. Being a lazy Sunday, the children in question had spent the day at Luggage Point towards the mouth of the Brisbane River where the wastewater treatment plant now sits. During their outing, whilst exploring the mangroves and rocks as young kids do, 13-year-old William McNeil discovered a metallic object caked in mud on the river's edge. Quickly retrieving it, he scoured the object with handfuls of sand to clean it from its muddy shroud before racing up the bank to show it proudly to his mother. Completely ignorant of the item's origin or identity, she advised young William it might be best not to play with his new discovery. Being a typical 13-year-old boy, William stole off with the object regardless and presented it to his curious sister, 9-year-old Doris McNeil, and their 8-year-old friend, Nettie Davidson. He roughly identified the object, in his terms, as a shell they sink ships with, but assured the girls it had been fired, so must be harmless. On returning to their residence in Bulimba, William called the 2 girls out into the backyard where he'd hidden his prized naval round unbeknownst to his mother. Taking a piece of wood, he began to slam the shell's nose into the block, in a misguided attempt to demonstrate to the girls how the round could dent the side of a vessel. Unfortunately for William, his backyard demonstration would be catastrophically realistic. Arthur Crouch, the owner of the Bulimba house, was startled by the sound of a massive explosion emanating from the backyard. Racing through the back door to investigate, he couldn't believe the scene that stretched out before him. William lay motionless on the grass, having had both hands torn off at the wrists and his neck broken. His friend Nettie was stumbling towards the house with her dress on fire, having sustained multiple shrapnel wounds, burns, and a shattered left hand. Miraculously, apart from severe bruising to her right thigh, William's sister Doris appeared to have escaped the blast relatively uninjured. On investigation, the police collected multiple fragments of the shell from across the yard and declared it looked as though the shell had been exposed to the elements for some time and was likely a pre-1907 projectile from a 6-pound Hotchkiss gun. Despite the understandable shock the event sent rippling through the tight-knit community of Brisbane, and likely due to wartime circumstances of the day, no indication was ever provided through any of the news outlets as to the naval round's potential origin or how it might have ended up on the bank of the Brisbane River. Although, for anyone who's familiar with the area and is equally a lover of Brisbane's history, the shell's likely origin is a no-brainer. Directly across the Brisbane River from Luggage Point sits Fort Lytton, a fixed defence battery built in early 1880s which guarded the mouth of the Brisbane River until after the cessation of World War II. During war times, the fort regularly undertook firing practice into the river, one particular instance being in March through April 1914, the year before the tragic accident at Bulimba, when the fort's 6-pound Hotchkiss guns were fired 29 times at a floating target being towed up the river. The shell collected by William could very possibly have been an unexploded round from one of these 6-pounder Hotchkiss guns at the fort. So, if you ever visit Luggage Point and happen to venture down to the water's edge, beware of strange metallic objects lying on the riverbank. There could likely be many more still lurking beneath the mud, and you don't want to share in poor young William's fate.